Bien, bienvenidos. Mi nombre es Juan Michelini.
Hello, my name is Juan Michelini, and I work in the development department of GeneXus. I would like to tell you how we see design ops in GeneXus and how we can see it. To start with, you should know that GeneXus is in this meeting, and if you're not, you should see the talk about getting to know GeneXus, and you can find out what it is. You can make an application for iOS, for Android, for whatever. If you haven't seen it, go back home and watch it. It's very easy. You may not know what design ops is. It's like design systems. It's a term that is going around. I thought about how to explain it, but it isn't easy. It's a word that belongs to designers, and they like to redefine, and they like to make things be many things. But after thinking about it and reading many things, I came to the conclusion that design ops is everything that keeps your design system alive. We have a design system. It took us a lot of trouble. We want to keep it alive. We want to get it to the users. We want to be used in multiple applications. And that's what we do. There are very many. They are very complex. Large corporations have people focused on that exclusively. In my talk, I'm going to simplify matters, but before that, this is a design system. For those of you who don't know it, a design system is a language to set up our app. It's a visual language so that we can see what it's going to look like. In a minute, we're going to have a talk with Maxi about it. And we want the design system to live through all this process. We've got an application that is going to be developed and designed. It's not just that the graphic part is with the designer or what the programmer wanted to do. We want it to flow and be kept alive. We want, as a user, to see how users react, and that's the UX field and user management, which is also very active indeed. The simplest flow is this one. We've got the design, and we want it to get to the user. This is an enormous simplification, but that's what we're going to focus on now. Even taking into account this very simplified road is going from designers to users isn't easy at all. It would be wonderful if it was simple, because designers are builders. When they build their design, are making the final application. They are telling you how they want users to live this experience. But reality is complicated, and what designers do is they build a design that designers use to get to the user, and you have an intermediate step there, and no one is really happy about it. Designers do a lot of work that doesn't get to the developer. Developers must do their work, and well, they've chose to live with codes and so on. But anyway, we want this design, we want this path designed user is something that we really like. Now, how can we transform this design process that goes through codes until the final user? How can we go to design user? And that's what design ops questions itself. So we have to go and focus first on going from code to user. We do need design systems to exist in a code. If the designer does something, schematizes something, we want those schemes to exist in the code. So when a small change is made by the designer, it is conveyed as a small change in the code. Let me tell you, we're going to tell you in this same room how to go into a design system. Max is somewhere there, so this is the next talk. The next thing we need is DevOps. We need that the code gets to the user, and we have to make sure that rapidly and for sure it gets to the user. And I recommend you should listen to a talk about how to build a DevOps culture. It's going to be, it was done by Sylvia, and you can stream it when you get back home. Now, with design systems and DevOps, we go from code to user. Now, the question is how can we move from design to code? And the standard solution is, very well, we get a developer and we ask him to design. And this is when you see that looking for a job, saying you want a developer doing everything, and in that case you would need to take university courses for 10 years. Or you ask the designer to be front-end, and you say, well, apart from designing, you have to program JavaScript, you have to do this and that, and the answer is no. The designers design, developers develop. If they want to do it, all right, be my guest. But if you have someone who is passionate about something, it's good that that person focuses on his or her passion. And so we picked up a third option.
Que los diseñadores utilicen sus herramientas.
Designers should use their tools, and the integration with development becomes automatic. If we've got that, we have designers that designed the final product directly. If we can move from design to design in code and the design in code to users directly, then designers are building the final app. Everyone is much happier right now because designers are truly doing something and get to the user, and programmers may focus on what they decided to focus on, and everyone is all the happier. We can have this flow, this path of design ops, but we need automation. We want details. Because when you say automation, at present, it's like saying the hand of the golden eggs. It's a panacea solving everything. But we need details. As you must have guessed, the code is done using GeneXus. That's easy. We've got a code in GeneXus. GeneXus gives you a design system. Now, the question is, where does the design come from? It wasn't easy. We looked for a lot of tools. The most popular one, the most powerful one is a Sketch. But Adobe is probably eating it up. Sketch ate up Photoshop because Photoshop has many things to be done. It's done to edit photographs professionally, and interfaces are much simpler. Now, what happened was the designer was faced with very many options, and he could produce things in 1,000 different ways, and then it wasn't uniform. And Sketch came in and said, let's play it simple. The tools we need are these very small ones, and because we have chosen very few, we're going to do it much better. Sketch also generated a Plime system so that you can see how the format is. You can parse it and you can read it and take information from them. So Sketch ate up the market. It made things simpler and with fewer tools. Adobe came in later. It has several advantages. It's for Windows, it's free, and so it's taken fair share of the market, and we'll consider it for the future. For the time being, the flow that we propose is design in Sketch, code in GeneXus, and you get to the user. We have a Sketch. Now, this is where the designer is. It makes it design with Sketch. It gets a prototype and sends it to a Sketch cloud and sends this thing to the programmer. 3 screens. Simple application is the one we use for the GeneXus course. It's a travel agency. Now, a designer spent hours doing this. There is a lot of information loaded therein, colors, positioning, margins. Very many decisions were made to come to this point. And if we haven't got any automation, then the designer has invested many hours and developer has to spend many hours. What we want is that you go directly from here to the code. And then, apart from the final panels, it's the design system. It says, well, there are certain common grounds. There are things that are repeated, and you can see it there. Those 7 images that we have in the panel in the middle are for design systems. They are all designed in the same way, and that information that the designer knew, we want it to be transferred in the same way to developers. The other thing is images, lots of images that must be matched with the one developer represents, and they also have to match density and many, many other properties. And it gives us lots of fonts, but we have to know exactly when it's italic and when it's light italics, and you have to coordinate it. So if you have a designer's eye, you can see it because you can decide if the font is all right, and it seems all right, but it's not. And I say this out of experience. Now, GeneXus, we're going to import this. We're going to import that directly to GeneXus. We're going to have videos, but if you really want to see the demo live, come tomorrow to the design laboratory. It's going to be with Mauro and myself. We're going to have computers, and the same thing you see in video now, you'll be able to do it in real time. So we're going to import from the web design.
Un momento.
1 minute, please. I'm trying to get the video running.
Ahí. Muchas gracias. Bien. Estamos en...
Very well. We are in GeneXus. We have a knowledge base. We're going to import the 3 panels that we've seen with our design system. We choose our file. Excuse me again, he says.
Ahora sí. Elegimos nuestro archivo.
So we choose our web file with 3 panels. We make sure that we are importing for web. We import it, and here GeneXus would parcel it's all the information that the designer built very carefully, and it includes it directly in our knowledge base. And here we can see images have been imported, topics have been imported. It's also creating each one of the elements in the design system. That's the panels. It created the 3 of them. It adds codes, because we're also taking codes out of it and directioning in the panels. We have to import images. There were about 30 images. They're a click away. And we're also importing complex fonts families. And we check that they are where they should be. It's importing the fonts here. It's finished. We're going to have a run now. GeneXus is taking the panels created in development. We have already done the first arrow. Now we're moving to the second arrow from GeneXus to the deployed app. It has to copy the code. It has to build the HTML, the corresponding HTML. It will complete its specifications. It generates the corresponding JavaScript. And here you can go out and have a cup of coffee. You can talk with your friends. You can talk with a designer and say how good, pat him on the shoulder. And here we've got the 3 screens. You're going to see it right now. That's the first screen with the cars, part of the design system, the footer, the types of fonts, sizes, margins. We're going to see the other 2. Again, you can do it tomorrow live, step by step, and you can take it home in your mobile. And this is panel, bold, text on images. This is done automatically. Very well. Let's close this now. Now, to compare how we can see the 2 things, it looks very much alike, but there are things that are missing. For instance, the title at the top, Get Ready to Explore, isn't perfect, in fact. The font wasn't exactly the same. There is no interspacing. There are other things that we may change. Perhaps the word exploration is too big. There are details, but roughly the things we have to change are very few, and it's far quicker to do it from something that's already done. Now, this automation system is improving every single month, and the idea is to get it pixel perfect. So what did we import? Well, we created the panels that you see there. It created codes. It created stencils. So we've got the panels. It built them quite similar to the ones that the developer would have done, with some details in automation, but we are improving it so that it's as similar as what the developer did. Look at the styles, the starter, the type of font, size, color, alignment. The stencils, that is the components responsible for the design, to keep the design systems. We got data, because a designer, when building, it's not only visual things, but it's all the experience, and part of the experience of prototype is data, what we want them to look like. We have the 3 cards that are loaded with certain images and titles. And now I'd like to show you mobile. So as not to make this import once again, let's see how you would see it in the emulator. And here we do import using the same process, sketch files for mobile, font sources. We get to this application. Tomorrow, when you all come to our lab, you'll be able to take it back home in your mobiles. That's something that we can see. Is that we've got some codes, and if we click on UX experience, Louvre experience, I'm sorry, it takes us to the panel, to the Louvre panel. So we've got these 3 panels now. They look much simpler than in the web. They're not. They're just longer. Information is vertical now. Now, basically, every click we had to do in the web, you have to do it here. Every click that the designer did is a click that the developer must make, and so the idea is to automate it. It also created stencils, codes, trials, all the information necessary on the basis of the sketch file for your mobile. Again, I invite you all to come to the design laboratory with Mauro and me tomorrow to look at the applications. Thank you.